section is Environmental Stewardship Update. Mr. Bowles.
Good afternoon. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and Dr. Casey, happy to be here this afternoon to provide an update on the county's environmental stewardship efforts. As demonstrated by the graphic that you see here, environmental stewardship is a big topic with many aspects, but can be generally defined as the responsible use and protection of natural environments and resources by individuals, groups, and organizations actively undertaking conservation and sustainable practices. Here in Chesterfield, we have multiple county departments, including General Services, Cooperative Extension, Parks and Rec, Risk Management, Citizen Information and Resources, Communications and Media, IST, and Utilities, who all work on various aspects of the overall stewardship program. Environmental Engineering and Community Enhancement, who will be presenting today, are also key contributors. We're also fortunate to work with FOLAR, who will also be presenting today, the Central Virginia Waste Management Authority, James River Advisory Council, Keep Virginia Beautiful, as many others who are all great partners in our efforts. Certainly also want to recognize our citizen advocates whose passion for this topic helps to keep us informed and advancing on solid goals and objectives. So just a quick look at the lineup for today's presentation. I'm going to be covering several topics from the community operations side. Then we'll hear from environmental engineering and community enhancement. FOLAR will have a trails update, and then we'll close with a short video on some recent stewardship successes. Starting with energy cost and consumption, the data you see here doesn't include schools, but represents the approximately 1.6 million square feet that we manage on the county side. As you can see here, our cost and consumption was relatively flat from 21 to 22, but the primary drivers of change were inflationary in nature, with some rate increases being effective in the final quarter of FY22. We also have had some additional rate increases effective during 23, and we expect to see some significant impact at the end of the current year, which we'll see in the next report. In addition, our buildings generally saw increased utilization during FY22 as we settled into a post-pandemic approach of balancing in-office time versus telework. Another significant factor is changes in our facility use and facilities that are in operation. For example, during the next cycle, we'll be adding a larger Midlothian library, opening the new Beulah Rec Center, and also determining new uses for other spaces that will change the data that's coming in. We continue to actively work on all of our Energy Management 101 programs, such as bill auditing, rate evaluation, close review of load estimates for new and renovated facilities to keep the costs and environmental impacts in check. Would also mention and thank you for your strong support of major maintenance programs that are hugely impactful, allowing for the installation of newer, more modern, and energy efficient HVAC and lighting systems. Some success stories for FY22. At the Addison Evans plant, significant savings were received through an evaluation of the projected power load and updating that rate schedule to a more advantageous program. Matoaka and Thomasdale High Schools, transformers were right-sized. That eliminated some facility charges and our lower contracted demand. An electrical storm that led to a demand spike at Bailey Bridge Middle resulted in a contract demand increase that was detected and corrected. These are just a few examples of how we leverage our energy cap automation which is, you see a screenshot on the right side, to help with the fundamentals of detecting billing errors, demand spikes, and identification of the most advantageous rate structures for our facilities. Moving into some initiatives for the remainder of this fiscal year and next fiscal year. Our largest one is advancing our solar projects. Despite some significant regulatory and supply chain challenges in this marketplace, the county and schools were able to move forward with array installations for 7 facilities, beginning in the fall of '22, with completion expected this spring. 4 additional facilities have been confirmed to start later in 2023. As part of utilities' transition to electronic meters, the Beacon water alert system has been implemented, and that allows us to more quickly detect and correct leaks, which may in the past have not been detected until you actually see a bill and detect an abnormality. Preliminary engineering has been completed on our existing exterior lighting major maintenance project. This will produce a triple win of energy savings, decrease ongoing maintenance burden, and security improvements. This will be a multi-year effort at facilities throughout the county, and the first phase is expected to kick off this year. We also want to work on enhancing our reporting, as well as growing the coordination between county and schools in this area. We'll be working on identifying some gaps and opportunities over the coming year. Turning to vehicle operations, General Services Fleet Team is taking the lead on planning for greater utilization of electric vehicles in our fleet. The key first step is to identify a vendor for turnkey operation, maintenance, and infrastructure for charging stations. This procurement is being developed, as well as operational procedures for use at county facilities. The Midlothian Library project scope includes all the rough-in necessary to install a charging station there once we have a vendor in place. Park and ride projects at the former Fulgham Center site on Cogbill Road, as well as CTC Hull, will both add vehicle charging. Our fire department and Chief Center are looking at hybrid fire apparatus, which are actually being piloted in a couple places in the country, and looking at that for future viability here in the county. The High Performance Building Act, which was enacted into state law last year, also mandates that vehicle charging infrastructure be part of public facility, new construction, and major renovation projects going forward. We have adjusted all our policies and design guidelines to comply with this law as we bring new projects along. For our fleet, the new fuel site at CTC Hull is opened and provides a really tremendous new resource for county and schools to access fuel at a lower per gallon cost and eliminate the higher cost as well as fees associated with use of commercial fuel sites. We're tracking the utilization and cost savings generated by this facility, and we'll have some numbers in the next update. But beyond those cost benefits, we're placing fuel closer to bus routes, which decreases the travel time and the emissions associated with fueling vehicles. Also, placement of fuel sites in strategic locations is an ongoing initiative, with some future sites projected for the northwestern part of the county as well as in the Matoaka district. We have 88 liquid propane powered vehicles that continue to provide environmental and cost-saving benefits. These vehicles consumed over 188,000 gallons of liquid propane in FY22 at an average price of $1.90 a gallon, which is approximately 29% less than unleaded and 37% less than diesel. Since the inception of this program in FY13, there's been cost avoidance of over $613,000 and carbon reduction of just over 3,700 metric tons. For electric school buses, the partnership between the county, schools, and Dominion Energy continues to go well. The buses have traveled an average about 18,000 miles since being put in service last year. They're performing well and have just under 90% uptime. So turning to recycling, as a reminder, the current curbside recycling contract with CVWMA ends July 1 of this year. The authority's procurement for a new contract resulted in a $202 annual cost per household for a subscription service here in Chesterfield. Our research at that time with the private sector indicated that multiple private haulers would provide service at a price anywhere between $84 and $120 annually. Thus, the determination to move in a new direction to private hauler service. This price has since been validated by the haulers who are now actively working to recruit customers. Since the last work session on this topic, staff has continued to engage heavily with the haulers to best position them to provide service to residents when the current contract expires. We're also planning to have the haulers available at our upcoming environmental fair, which I'll talk to you more about in a minute, to enroll customers and also hopefully talk with HOA groups about how they can successfully bundle their trash and recycling services. Also happy to report.
Additional hauler that joined the group, right? Originally there was only 4, and now there'll be 5 offerings.
That's my exact next sentence. Thank you. I'm happy to report that Zans has notified us that they will be offering curbside recycling.
Clay,
Yes,
thank
sir.
you for that. And are we able to ascertain or determine what the range of fees might be? Have we had a way to develop that mechanism? Because it would be nice for us to have a feel for, what's going on in the marketplace.
Mm-hmm. So far, the feedback that we're hearing and talking with the haulers, we are within that range that they said they would charge early on, but we can get you a more specific report of broken down by hauler.
Yes,
Mr.
I would
Bowles.
like that. Thank you. Yes, Dr. Casey.
And I myself just called as a citizen, use the website that we had, and again, some of the haulers are taking and giving quotes now starting July 1st. Others say, please call back in a month or 2 as they're working it out. But for the one that I was able to get in touch with, they are not only lowering my solid waste monthly fee from what I'm currently paying if I become part of recycling, but the recycling is about $7 or $8 a month. But they're also saying in the same breath, if you can find a lot more neighbors who want to use our same service, there's economies of scale of going through a neighborhood once. Some HOAs are more formally looking at that. There's processes, each HOA is a little bit different, but as the reminder of costs and why we started down this path, and again, Mr. Bowles is correct, the haulers are honoring what they said when we were at that decision-making point. If you recall, the 60,000 people that we have in the program, plus or minus right now, their cost of $41 a year at a minimum was going to go to $110 a year if all 60,000 stayed in the program. One of the options we looked for as part of the RFP process was that can the hauler have a direct relationship with the customer and not worry about a numerator and denominator. As less customers are in there, I have to pay more. That estimate was a fee of about $200 plus per year. So again, when I called for my my recycling component of about $7 per month, that's $84. So $84 is better than $110, which was an at-risk variable, and $84 is far better than something that's in the $200 range. Now, hopefully, and having said that, with 5 haulers now, this is where the private sector is better than any sole source procurement of letting them compete for not just the price of service, but also the quality and responsiveness of treating you as a customer.
Okay. Lastly, for this slide, we are working with the finance team to waive the 2023 first half recycling fee, which will remove the requirement to opt out of the program by March 1st to avoid that fee. This action will help encourage strong participation in the recycling program during this transition and keep the numbers strong until the end of the contract.
Mr. Bowles, this is worth pausing for a moment too, because last time we presented to you, we had the rationale and logic if the haulers were, and people were able to figure out what they could do and how they could do it, but they could still stay with the CVWMA through July 1st. But if they're able to find somebody, let us know before March 1st, before you exit. Because many of the haulers, as has been represented to me, and even on our website, they're saying call back in March. We're going to figure this out. We got it down, but I can't offer you a contract yet, except for maybe 1 or 2 of them. We felt as though that we don't want to put any stress upon our existing residents of a March 1st or after March 1st. That service, and again, it goes back to the contract we had from 10 years ago, that service will be provided regardless whether people are paying into it or not through July 1st. So our preliminary projections that we feel comfortable with has nothing to do with the FY24 budget. I need to make that distinction as we start talking, often about FY24 for the county. The FY23 year budget that we're in, because of our conservative budgeting natures and not spending every penny, we're comfortable of using that surplus, if you will, to honor the contract on behalf of the people, for which there was going to be a $20.50 fee on the June 5th tax bill that will no longer be there. And this is a concurrence item. There's no vote we need to take necessarily. There may be an action in February we bring to you, possibly. We're still checking on that, but we just wanted to give a heads up and explain that concept to you, which we think is again, a win-win for the future haulers so they can work towards this and the existing customer.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes, sir.
I think that's an excellent point. Thank you, Dr. Case, for mentioning that in terms of the budget cycle it's involved in. I'm always concerned about getting information out to everyone possible. And I know we may have bills that may go out that can share the information regarding the waiver of the first half fee, which I'm sure citizens would like to take advantage of and opt out. So I think that would be very important for us to, and work with other neighborhoods that may have help. So hopefully the haulers will do that. And I just really appreciate that competition, because I think competition really brings about the best result. And I think I'm very pleased we're moving in this direction for the benefit of the citizens in all our neighborhoods. So I just want to comment on that in terms of communications.
Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Wenzel.
I would agree with Mr. Holland, and I think that, this is a change, and so we just need to have a transition period for people, and I just think this makes sense to do. And so this, to me, is a great policy. It certainly have my concurrence, and I think as people are trying to figure this out for their own individual families, for their own individual neighborhoods, as HOAs, I know we're continuing to engage those folks, which is a good thing, that we're giving people time to adjust, just like anything else. It takes time to adjust, and I do think this will ultimately result in a greater amount of recycling going on in the county. So that's, I think, going to be a benefit once we fully get transitioned. But I appreciate this action.
One last thing, I'm sure it's in your probably next slide, that people will be able to come to our facilities and recycle for nothing.
Working my way there.
There you go.
No, but to Mr. Holland's point, we are prepping an updated correspondence to the November letter that went out, planning something a little bit shorter, really focused on getting people the hauler information so that they can work towards signing up. Overall, just continue to have a focus on communications with this effort. Chesterfield.gov/recycling has been set up as really a one-stop shop for For information, we're continuing with the new resident welcome letter, which also tells folks to how to sign up for services for recycling as well as many other things. Would also wanted to update you that we are working to finalize a service agreement with Central Virginia Waste Management Authority for continued provision of customer service support for the 6 months after we make the transition, as well as continuing to benefit from the pro-recycling public education that they do, as well as programs in our schools.
Just a quick question, Mr. Bolza. As I'm looking at that green container on the slide, what is CVWMA going to be doing with those containers? Are they going to want them back, or you would like to think they're recycling them, but I'm curious to know how that's going to play out.
So if you, and folks correct me if I'm wrong, but if you already have an existing container, that you can continue to use that if you elect to go with Tidewater Fibers. But if you're choosing to go with a different company, they will give you a new container, and then we'll be accepting old containers that people can no longer use at our convenience centers. They can be disposed of for free there. We'll collect them and recycle them.
And just a question, follow-up question, Mr. Chairman, on that. We're not requiring the folks who are coming into the recycling market to have a certain type of bin or anything like that, correct?
No.
I mean, I recommend the bigger the better with the biggest wheels you can, personally. I mean, I don't know how people do recycling in their houses, but I mean, it is, we have so much of it in our house that it, if they offered a gigantic size, we'd get that one. But I mean, I just wanted to make sure we're not requiring it, but I suspect that's where the market is going to take, is these larger bins with wheels that make it nice and accessible for people.
Yeah.
The added benefit of that, if I could just interject, is, when it's the open exposed bin, two things happen. One, if it rains and it's paper, then the paper becomes waste. You cannot recycle it. Wet cardboard is not a recyclable material. Two is on windy days, and you all have seen it in neighborhoods, and one of our biggest litter complaints is a windy day on recycling day. So all of the haulers thus far that are going to be entering the market, that they need the container business. They're going to have the trucks and equipment to pick up the container and dump it into their truck easier. There may be a hauler who says, in their design of their truck and their equipment is exactly what the CVWMA container is already. If so, that's a decision between the hauler and the customer. They may put a sticker on there as an example to distinguish it, but we're not going to micromanage and scope out what a container should be if again, their equipment and their trucks are designed for a different type of product.
And just to elaborate on that a little, the future has no bins. All the haulers will have a cart-based program. They'll each, if you sign up, they're going to give you a new container. Even the CVWMA program, the bins go away. So that will be a thing of the past.
I know that the company contacted me, actually said they would bring a brand-new, essentially 95-gallon trash can with a lid.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. And that's true of all the haulers. Okay, so turning to our convenience centers and the waste and recovery functions at those facilities. There are several operational enhancements proposed in the FY24 budget. The first is a return to 7-day operations at those facilities. Over the past several years, there have been some additional operating hours, but demand for services remains high even with those changes. So we have proposed that change to go back to being open every day. We've been working with consultants to take a look at the traffic queues at both of our convenience centers to try to make some adjustments to help minimize the wait lines and improve access to, easy access to the free drop-off recycling areas. We're looking to implement those changes. If you've been to the northern facility, that's a little bit of a tighter fit than southern and have to be a little more creative there, but we do have some options for both facilities. This request also would fund creation of free drop-off recycling stations at 6 parks: Daniel, Horner, Rockwood, Huguenot, Goyne, and Dodd. So in addition to being able to do free drop-off recycling at the convenience centers, there would now be 6 options throughout the county for that. We've also would like to work to have a free residential leaf disposal option during those peak months and late in the year where all the leaves are falling. This is a request that we get with some regularity, and want to try to offer that for residential customers. On the solid waste side, staff continues to monitor landfill capacity and work with our haulers to better understand their long-term plans. We are also working with CVWMA, who coordinates the solid waste plan for our planning area, to be sure that their planning documents align with current capacity. A couple of save-the-date items. Citizen Information and Resources is planning an Earth Day environmental fair for April 15th from 10 to 2 at the Chesterfield Fairgrounds. Plans are still in the development stage, but the theme for this event is celebrating Earth Day every day. And the mission of the event will be to connect residents with ways to be environmentally friendly, to include ways to get outside, recycle, and give back to the community. This day will have a host of resource vendors that focus on environmental stewardship, kid-friendly activities, live demonstrations, food trucks, and many other good things to do. So more to come on this as the plans are finalized. The day before on April 14th, we'll also be holding a ribbon cutting for the county and schools solar program at the Eanes Pittman Public Safety Training Center. This is the first facility that was completed as part of the program, and it's going to be an excellent chance to showcase this achievement, our future plans, as well as provide some behind-the-scenes look at how these systems operate. Turning to facilities, design and construction methods for facilities is another key component of sustainability practices. Building inspections reports that the amount of building codes related to energy efficiency and sustainability have increased significantly over the past 3 code updates. So, the requirements are keeping pace with projects in this area. They're also seeing a significant uptick in residential solar projects, both in new construction and existing homes. And similar to what I mentioned regarding the major maintenance that we do here at county facilities, homeowners doing their own projects at home to install newer, more energy efficient systems all contribute to a positive outcome. For our county facilities, we've had longstanding practices to incorporate energy efficiency and sustainability into our design. We've not always sought out official certifications or a plaque to hang on the wall, but the concepts have always been part of our programming. As I mentioned earlier, the state's High Performance Buildings Act also mandates that going forward, we're going to design and construct buildings in accordance with programs such as Green Globe or LEED, which stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. Both of these programs provide a framework and guidelines that can be used to establish energy-efficient green buildings. Would also mention too that with the county, our facilities are not just buildings. We also have land and parks and open spaces. And we recently took a look at the total amount of open spaces and conservation easements in the county, and that number totals over 3,800 acres. Just as an example of some of these trends, I think we can look to Lego and their commitment to managing carbon footprint by constructing their facilities to decrease the distance that their products have to travel to get to the marketplace. I think as you've likely heard before, this facility is seeking to be carbon neutral with an on-site solar park. And they also plan to work towards a LEED certification and as well as replant over 4,000 trees throughout the county to replace those that were cleared from the site. So for my last slide, just would like to remind you, as well as those watching, about the county's environmental stewardship website. That's chesterfield.gov/environmental stewardship. This site provides a wealth of information about clean water and air, conservation in our parks, healthy land and wildlife sustainability, all compiled in one location. Information is also available on this site about the county departments and partner organizations that I mentioned earlier, as well as some links to regulatory agencies. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions before Mr. Smedley comes forward for the next part of the presentation.
Board members, any more questions?
I just want to say thank you, Mr. Bowles, for the outstanding work. This is a lot, and it's really impacting the entire county, especially with transitioning of recycling, because it's very, very important for our citizens and many of our neighborhoods. And anything we can do to work with them, I applaud your efforts in that regard, and communicate with them on how, as neighborhoods, they can work together as well will be helpful. So, thank you.
Thank you.